going, everybody? This is Mr. Everything, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In today's video, we're going to continue on with our What's in the Box series. And in today's What's in the Box, we are going to be looking at the Epic Battles Black Powder Waterloo campaign, the French Commanders. We're going to be taking a look at this box. Now, what's in the box? And this box comes with 5 commanders in Warlord resin. And you get Kellerman, you get D'Erleron, Bonaparte, which I don't think that's Jerome, that's probably Napoleon, just by the way he looks, Ney, and then the Cuirassier Cuirassier commander. So he's basically just a not a named figure. Now it says you get 5 epic battles Napoleonic French commanders in Warlord resin. It has the epic battles scale, and it's a fairly small box, as you can see. The box is about 4 inches by about 3 inches. It's a 3x4 basically. Okay, now over here off the camera, I actually grabbed a couple of my Old Glory 15mm commanders. I have Uxbridge and a Dutch-Belgian general. I'm going to use these as a size comparison against the Warlord resin figures. Now, from what I gather, these are not 15mm miniatures. These are somewhere in the neighborhood of 13.5 millimeters. But we're going to see if these are a little large for 13s, and maybe these are a little small for 15s. Maybe they meet somewhere in the middle around 14. We're gonna evaluate that. Plus, we're gonna zoom in close, and we're gonna actually take a look at the quality of the figure as well. Okay, so let's open this up. Okay, it comes with your standard blister, right? And this one particularly was packed by Judith, or Judith. I would think that would be Judith. And then you could just take your fingernail and pry the lid off of the bottom. Right, I'm going to open this thing up. And let's dump the figures. Okay, and let's go ahead and just put this packing slip back in the blister. We'll put it off to the side. And these are the 5 miniatures that you get. 5 Warlord resin commanders. Now what we'll do is we'll take a look at the back of this box and try to compare them. Okay, so this guy with his hand up looks like it's D'Erleron, so we'll put him over there. The guy with his hat back behind him, that looks like Ney, so we'll put that guy right there. Sword over his head looks like Kellerman, and Bonaparte's got his hand on his stomach, and he's got his side bicorn. Yeah, that's definitely Napoleon. And then this would be the extra Cuirassier commander. One thing I do want to point out, as you can see, there are no bases. I do believe that they mount their commanders on 30 by 30 bases, 30 by 30 squares. They might be mounting them on something. I don't think they'd be mounting them on a 20 by 20. I know they mount their cavalry on 20mm depth and 5 figures across on a 60mm base. But I think their commanders and I think their artillery is mounted on 30 millimeters wide, and I think the commanders are square bases, 30 millimeters. I do believe. I don't know. I don't have the rules for the epic battles. Okay, and so that would wind up being those figures. No bases. That's unusual. At the cost that you're paying for 5 miniatures, you would expect to receive, you would expect to receive dice, bases, flocked, pre-painted. Yeah, because this box here cost me $19. All right, now before we get to scaling them out, what I would like to do is adjust the focus and get these in zoom tight so we can see what the quality looks like. All right, let's go around in order. This is Kellerman, right? So let's see how close I can get Kellerman to the camera where the focus is at. That's pretty good. Maybe that's better. There we go. The blanket looks good. The trim on his saddle up front looks good. The turn back on his coats look good. He's got that real thick belt that it's really like a sash that he wears. You can see the medals on his chest, his thick collar, the hat with the fur along the top edge. Jumping around. The detail on the reins are really good, and the legs could be done a little bit better. I'm talking about the general's legs, but it's molded as part of the horse. I love the fact that the horse's tail has a box on it that needs to be cut off. Alright, that's mold imperfection right there on the box on this tail. Not much imperfection on the bottom. There is a little bit of right there. You can just cut that off. And this is Warlord resin, so it's very easy to cut. Okay, so that was Kellerman. Let's take a look at Ney. He's the one that's got his hat to his rear. Ney looks good with his red hair, and his horse looks very nice. His hat. The bit and bridle around the horse's head looks really nice. Easy to paint. Sword in the sheath. And he's got his sash wrapped around his legs, but he also has a strap going over his shoulder. Okay. Wait a second. Let's back up just a little bit. I'm looking for epaulets on his shoulders. They look good. Okay. D'Arleron, which is second corps commander. No, second corps? No, first corps. First corps commander. Yeah, Rial is second corps commander. One that's at Quatre Bras. This guy is not at Quatre Bras. He's at Waterloo. One lifted leg. Yeah, it looks like it'd be fairly easy to paint the frills and stuff like that. I got the detail on these guys, got them really thick so that you can identify where it goes. And if you did any highlighting or washing, it would be a lot easier to find. Okay, along his left leg, it looks like, is that a tassel hanging off of his sword? It looks like it. I like it. Okay. And then we got Cuirassier Commander. So this guy would be a generic general, but he's wearing Cuirassier armor. He's got a little bit of trim coming off of the top of the horse's mane. Looks like that would have to be trimmed off. A little bit of trim on the horse's tail. This guy really has a lot of work to be done. I have to really take a look at that piece on his back. I don't know if that's supposed to be cut off or if that's like a cartridge box or something. I'm gonna have to take a close look. I don't see a belt, so I'm thinking it would just be cut off. Yeah, trimmer on the face. That's got to be trimmed off. Okay. So that one's got a lot of work. And then the last one here, save the best for last, Napoleon. Okay, you got Napoleon holding his reins. He's got that unique hat with the really deep folds on the left and right. He's got his jacket on. Yeah, look. Yeah, you can see the medals on his chest. Okay. Let me adjust the focus. Okay, so let me, first of all, let me reach in and grab out. Now, the figure that I was thinking of using is this Dutch-Belgian general. His hat is way bigger than any of their hats. It's double the size, but that might be the scale of the hat that this general is wearing. So what I'm planning on doing, and this is the way you normally measure metal miniatures in the millimeters, you measure it to the bottom of the hat, right? So either his eye level, his brow, the bottom of his forehead, right where a helmet would start or a baseball cap. That's where you measure to. And then you would measure to the bottom of their feet. That's if they were standing. But if they're on a horse, you can't really do that. So what I plan to do is grab one of these Old Glory 15 millimeter horses, just put this gentleman on there by hand, and then kind of figure out exactly how tall he is compared to these guys. Now, not only am I going to measure it using these are 10 millimeter squares, but I do have an individual millimeter ruler right here that I should be able to utilize as well, just to get, if I need to get like individual millimeters. Now, same thing with the horse. You never measure the base that they're on. You measure where their feet start. And then I'm going to measure it up to the horse's eyes. And in this case, Old Glory looks like about 18 millimeters. So let me come over here. 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9. No, wait, no, I don't have this lined up properly. About 18 millimeters to the eye level of the horse. Okay, and then if I took Napoleon and I put him on the same scale, the top of the base, right, with this base is actually a thinner base than that, but that's fine. It's the top of the base, and this horse doesn't have his head up. His head is down. So maybe I don't know. I was trying to think of, or try to find one that's got his head up. This guy kind of has his head up. He's sitting at 17 millimeters. Okay, so 17 versus 18. Okay. Now, this guy does have a bicorn hat, and so does this guy. But again, remember, I'm not going to be measuring to the top of the bicorn. I'm measuring to the bottom of the bicorn, or the eyes of the rider. So if I was measuring to the eyes of the rider, it looks like about 22 millimeters. So 22 millimeters. Okay, so let's put this guy on his horse, and then let's measure. Let's measure. Okay, here we go. Lining up the top of the base with the line 20. Okay, I can't really see because the guy's head is turned to the right, so I'll just turn this horse over. Well, then his arm's in the way. Okay, so I just have to kind of get in the way and figure this out. Okay. 24. Okay. So it seems like it's 24 millimeters tall. Or horse and rider is 24 millimeters. Not 28, not 40. Looks like this was what, about a 17 or 18, I think. This was 18. And then this guy was like a 17 because it was 1 millimeter shy. And then the gentleman was a couple more millimeters shy when they were mounted together. Okay, so I don't know if you can really see this very well on camera. And I don't know if this is a good comparison for what I'm trying to do here. But since they're all generals and the horses are all, these guys have to be glued on. So they're going to stick out maybe just a hair. Right. I want you to see how much. Okay, we don't need this ruler. I kind of want you to see how much or how similar these guys are. There is a little bit of a difference. You can visually see side by side like this that these guys are about 1 or 2 millimeters difference. It is noticeable. This guy, he's very noticeable, but the figure itself is leaning forward, so he really shouldn't count because he's like laying across the top of the horse, where this guy is standing upright almost in the exact same pose as him. And yeah, the sword from there to the tip of the sword is 30. Same thing with this guy. From the very top to the tip of the sword is like 30. Yeah, even amongst their own figures, there's a little bit slight height difference. Yeah. If this guy was included in a pack like this, I would say that they're all to the same scale. Even though I can tell by evaluating, by looking and measuring, that he is about 1 or 2 millimeters taller. That would include the horse as 1 extra millimeter and the rider as an extra millimeter. So we're looking at a full 2 millimeters. Now the point is, something I was kind of getting at is I mount my generals individually, very much like the black powder. I mount them on round bases where they're mounting theirs on square. But if I had this general mounted on a circle on the table, I know his horse is not allowing him to stand up straight. And his saddle isn't pushed all the way down either. It looks like there would be a little bit of spreading that I would have to do between the legs to get this guy to go all the way down on the horse. So it actually might be less than 2 millimeters, but we'll just say 2 millimeters. Okay, so if I've got, this guy, there's a little bit of gap between, there we go. Got a little bit of gap between the general saddle and the back of the horse. That would have to actually be worked out. But if I had this general mounted on a 30 millimeter circle on the table, and then I had any one of these generals, I'm just going to grab this general, and he was on the other side of the unit, maybe there's a unit of infantry, and this guy was mounted there, or this guy was mounted there, and this guy was mounted there. I'm just throwing them out there, you know. You can't really tell the difference. These guys all have very similar footprints, right? They're very or height, you know. They're very similar. They're not enough difference to warrant any kind of being anal about it, in my opinion. So now this is only the first half of this video. I do plan to compare some Prussian commanders as well to maybe see if Warlord resin has a variety of scales between print runs and also between nationalities. Because it's possible they might have a different sculptor or something, and the models might be a little bigger or smaller. If you remember, I did an Ewarts, and this guy is a little bit bigger than my 15 millimeter. So he's supposed to be to scale with these guys. So that's what prompted me to get this box, to do a comparison for you so you can see if you wanted to get it or not. Okay, so my final thoughts are: the detail is incredibly good. I love the detail. The scale is close enough to 15 that I could use them without any issue at all. I mount them on some bases and I put them on the table. No one's ever gonna be the wiser. It's not like they're 10 millimeter, which is a big jump, and it's not like they're 18 millimeter, which is also a big jump. These guys are real close to 15s. I think that they're closer to 14s, and I think my Old Glory is also closer to 14s. I think they're a little bit, or maybe they are true 15s, but still, 1 millimeter is not that big of a deal. And to me, the height difference of a regular human being can vary, and 1 millimeter in scale represents about 6 inches of height, so maybe even a little bit less. So are there people that are 5'6", and then are there people that are 6 feet? Absolutely. So I don't see a problem why you couldn't be able to, and horses is the same. They vary in height as well. So I don't see any problem with using these with your 15 millimeter armies. Now, something I might not do is mix them. So if I had a bag of Old Glory Cuirassier, and then I got some Warlord Cuirassier, I probably would not put them in the same unit. But even there, that looks fine. I don't have a problem with that. The length of the horses are pretty much exactly the same. So, from front to back, I don't see a problem with that. And one of the reasons why I did this was so that I could do this comparison for me as well as you, so that I can determine if I wanted to get some cavalry units and have them work with my 15 millimeter armies. And it looks like they will. I will not be able to get their infantry because even if they are close in scale, there are too many figures mounted shoulder to shoulder on a 60 millimeter base, and I'm using 40 millimeter bases, single rank and not double rank. So infantry's out. Artillery, I think, will be good. I'm gonna order a cavalry brigade. I'll be able to do a size comparison and a what's in the box when I get it in. But they have some individual infantry skirmishers or dismounted infantry, and they also have guns. So I should be able to compare their guns with my Old Glory guns and their skirmishers with my Old Glory skirmishers, and then we'll get a true comparison on that. Okay, so thanks for coming out and watching this what's in the box for the French commanders. You got to see the quality of the figure. You got to see how they compared in size to my Old Glory cavalry and commanders. But you also learned that they don't come with any bases, so you'll need to get some bases. And I consider the commander packs to be overpriced. It's $20 for 5 figures with no bases. The cavalry, on the other hand, is just the other way around. I consider those to be the cavalry brigade, that is. I consider that to be a good price because it's like $42 and you get 3 battalions worth of cavalry and 3 guns and a bunch of infantry. So I think that is a good price. Now, I'm not going to use their bases or anything. I wasn't anyway. I would rebase them on my own rounds anyway, so I'm not too butthurt about that. But that's up to you to decide if that's what you want. Alright guys, well thanks for coming out and watching this video, and be sure to check out my next one, which is going to be Prussian Commanders.